Well, let's start with a basic principle of Maine law, and that is when you have more than one owner of a property, you are called tenants in common as a general rule. Tenants in common all share the right to force what's called a partition of the property. Partition means that you can go to court and ask the court to split up the property. Now, in many cases, the property isn't splittable. You don't cut a house in half as a general rule. But what it does do is force a sale in most cases. And that's something most families dread. They just don't want to get anywhere near that. So the biggest question is, how do you get the property in an ownership structure that a partition can't be forced? So there's a couple of ways to do that. Years ago, before the advent of a new kind of corporation called the limited liability company, we used to use a family trust, and we'd put the property in a trust for the benefit of all the owners, and then the owners would elect or name one or two or three trustees to be the responsible people for managing it, allocating usage, making up the rules and regulations, and all that sort of thing. About 20 years ago, the legislature, like most legislatures across the country, adopted the limited liability company statute. And so for us here in Maine, that seems to be the best way to go nowadays. We seem to be using those much more than anything else, a family limited liability company. And what that allows for is to put the property in this entity so that the entity owns it. And all of the owners become what we call members. The members can then elect or appoint, however they see fit, managers. And you can have one manager, you can have 5 managers, you can have as many as you want, but it's usually good to have relatively few, 2 or 3, something like that. Who will be in charge of the governance? How do you allocate usage? How do you pay for it? And also, how do you just manage disputes within the family? Because there always are, there will be disputes. And the LLCs are particularly good at allowing for an agreement, really a family agreement that permits families to say, when we have a dispute, here's how we would like to try to resolve it. So LLCs are good for the governance side of things, the dispute resolution. And finally, they're particularly good as an estate planning tool because the membership interests in an LLC are not technically real estate, so you don't have to do a deed or anything else. You can just give a piece of paper that says, I give you my membership interest. It's a very tax efficient thing to do, and it's a great way to pass on the ownership from one generation to the next at a measured pace. And it's just a very convenient legal structure to use, and that's what we recommend to just about everybody that comes to us for advice on how to organize things from a legal perspective.